تخرجت من جامعة براون يونيفرسيتي. أنا عملت ثانوي في لندن، ما قعدت في السودان. بعدين جيت هنا للجامعة، مشيت لبراون يونيفرسيتي، بعد كده مشيت لكورنيل يونيفرسيتي للميديكال سكول. فالجايدنس اللي ادوها لنا كانت يعني ممتازة. فيعني at the end of this lecture يعني I'm going to give 2 lectures. واحدة في الانترفيوز، هبتدي بالانترفيو بعدين البيرسونال ستيتمنت. إن شاء الله you should have يعني a reasonable way to negotiate the interview. And the interview هي يعني فيها حاجات كثيرة مهمة. The program coordinator or the secretary, this is it's not a physician. That's the person that بيشوف أول لقطة ولا أول screen للapplication. And they're deciding, do I give you an interview or not? بحد حياتكم. They're actually the ones that look at everything في البداية. بعد كده بعد ما يعني بيكون في مثلا لنا نحن over 1,000 applications for the 12 spots. She or he screens them down to maybe about 500, 400. Then the program director looks at the 300 to 500 that the program coordinator or the secretary قالت خلاص دي كويسة يعني Dr. X, Dr. Smith الحاجات دي كويسة. Then he or she chooses the program director, not a committee, it's a single individual. احتمال يكون عنده زول معاه عشان يساعده as a vice chair. Decides, okay, fine, we're going to interview these 100 people for the 10 spots. The ratios are about that. If it's 3 spots open, they're going to interview no more than يعني 40 or 50. فأنا في رأيي the interview is the most important thing. يعني أيوة السي في مهمة، أيوة personal statement مهمة. Once you get to the spot where you have an interview, بأمانة يا جماعة, you are on equal footing من الولد والبنت that graduated from Harvard that has a Nobel Prize, a gold medal from the Olympics. You really are equal. نحن عندنا ناس pre-ranking اللي بيتعملوا program director and the secretary, the program coordinator, كانوا number 2 and 3, and at the end of the committee meeting, they are number 105. They didn't match. في نفس الوقت قدامي أنا كان في ناس in 71, 72. They are not going to match معنا. After the interview, حطيناهم as number 6. We have 12 spots. That person was ranked to match. فالinterview لما أنت تجوا زي بعض ما بتعمل فرق أنت جيت من وين. They look at you fresh. In fact, نحن they take away the USMLEs بيشطبوها من السي في، بيشطبوها من recommendations، بيشطبوها من personal statement لو كتبتها. عشان نحن عاوزين نعرف، ما عاوزين نقول والله زود ده جاب 271. في ولد هو كان معنا he got 271 on his USMLE, 272 on step 2. That automatically أنا هفتكر I'm going to be biased وشاطر صح. لكن بيشطبوه عشان هو شخصيته بايظة ولا ما حينفع معي ولا الساعة 3 صباحا أنا ما عايز أكون معه in an operating room. I don't want that person. But you're on equal footing. كويس? It's the interview that matters a lot. Okay, نبتدي بالسهل. 4 men, black shoes, no deviations, okay? None. Black socks, black belt, no deviations, okay? None. خلاص, the suit, these are my recommendations. ولو أنا في الانترفيو أنا I have some opinions. لو في زول يعني زعل من الكلام بأمانة يعني أعفو لي. لكن wear a dark suit. That means black, which I don't prefer. Navy blue is the best. Dark gray, you're allowed light gray. So dark gray or navy blue, it's the best. Single tone, انتم ما ماشيين العرس، ما ماشيين يعني الناس هم بيتكيفوا. صح؟ انت عايز تتكيف للانترفيو. القيافة دي has nothing to do with the interview. You can pick any tie. Tie انت لو عاوز بامبي بالبرتقالي بنجوم, go ahead. There's no rules on the tie. And I'm very sure of what I'm saying here. Do not deviate. It's to your own peril. الحجاب ناس بيسألوا كتير. It's good. It is not bad. I have never يعني ولا مرة واحدة سمعت يعني that it was a conversation ولا حاجة زي لابسة طرحة كويسة. Okay, before you enter, warm your hands up, dry them before you go in. أنا زي ما قلت لك ما في زعل من كلامي معليش عفوا لي. لكن بأمانة when we interview, and I've interviewed over 300-400 people. لما تسلم لواحد just subconsciously كده ويدينه تكون cold ومبلولة it's a little bit wet and clammy, which is a normal sympathetic response. It's normal. So when that occurs, you feel a little disgusted. يعني الزور ده يده كانت وين؟ Yeah, man, that's what we think. We've discussed this before. And it builds a negative impression من أول ثانية. So you're going to start the interview negative. So what do? خد يدك في جيبك and you keep it warm. You just بتاعها بشكل ما شوي كده. It keeps it warm and it keeps it dry. أول ما الباب يفتح, you take it out, تسلم. After that, you can get as cold and clammy as you want. على الأقل تسلم and it's cold and clammy يعني حتعمل شنو. That's the way that it is. ما تكلمت في النسوان, بس النسوان basically it just needs to be conservative. أنا wait asked to be seated. يعني لما أنت تخش الأوضة, just stand right behind الكرسي and then hold, يعني just lay still. And then after that لما نقول اتفضلوا عشان هو شيء يعني بس أنا باحتمال شايفة عدم احترام واحد يقعد ساكت قاعد يعني في مكتبي وكذا, فبتكون ظريفة if you just wait, oh you know sit down يعني ناحية الاحترام. The optional. Everything else I have told you before is not optional. Not. Okay? So my opinion, just wait to be seated. Alright. The interview itself. It is a strategy. Just like the USMLE. في ناس أشطر ناس في العالم ما شاء الله, they are fantastic physicians. تمشي تشيل أحسن دكتور في السودان and ask them that minute to take the USMLE, they will not score well because it is an American test. تعرفين كده. It has a lot of cultural bias. And the حاجات كثيرة that gets involved with يعني Americanism and American, which is fine يعني في أمريكا. ما غلط, it's not wrong. لكن it is what it is. It is not a test of how smart you are. It is not a test of how good a physician you are. The USMLE tests how well you do on that test. Best. Do well on the test. ما عندها أي علاقة بأي حاجة ثانية. The interview is the same thing. يعني it's not a conversation. ما سلام ولا ونسة ولا معارفة. I'm not here to get to know you. They say that, but that's not real. It's really a deliberate exchange of words and information based off of a limited amount of time. How to deliver it? ما في زول بيمشي ساكت يقول والله الليلة دي I'm going to have an interview مع صاحبي. It doesn't work that way, صح? So you have to practice these things, and يعني بقول لكم الحاجات دي مخصوص because it matters. Okay. أنا بشيل I'm going to take a volunteer. I'm going to choose الرئيس حقنا عمر ممكن he doesn't know about this. تعرف ممكن أفضحك شوي معلش. Okay. So we're going to assume we're in an interview, and you are going to interview me, and I want you just to ask, how was your trip? Go ahead.
How was your trip?
It was good. I had time to catch up on my research. What's your next question?
What research did you research?
عندك حل? Do you have any way out? So, I directed the interview, صح? So someone asks you a question, you do two things. Actually, this is what happens. You know, he's an accomplished person. He's been a consultant, and you answer the question normally. Like in an interview, it is not a normal situation. It's not a conversation. So, in an interview, when someone asks you the questions, you have to do two things. واحد, answer the damn question. أنا ما ضيعت وقتي ولا نفسي عشان أسألك سؤال عشان أنت ما ترد علي. You don't answer the question, I get annoyed. I don't like you at all. Answer the question. I didn't waste my time, and I know what I'm doing. Yani, that's what the interviewers are. So they're arrogant. They decide your life. So answer the question. And he did. He said, it was good. زي ما أنا قلت, it was good. And then if the opportunity arises, and it does 99% of the time, offer some piece of information about yourself. ليه؟ عشان بأمانة تعرفين كده. Those of you that have been on interviews, about 50-60% of the time, they did not read your personal statement. And 50-60% of the time, they did not read your CV. You all know this. They didn't read it. هم بس جايين إنه بيقولوا أنا شاطر بس بتكلم معاه وبشوف. Oh, it's a strategy. They just want to find out about you. So that's why in the interview, if you keep on offering up information, then at least they will get it. At least they will get that information. So how do you do it? زي ما someone asks you a benign question, how was your trip? You answer the question, it was good. I had time to catch up on my research. And so إذا ما عنده حل لازم اسأل. What's your research? Next question, or tell me a little bit about yourself. خلاص, that's an open-ended question, you have time to do it. لكن في واحد بيقول, okay, what time did you spend? How did you spend your last job? I've spent it preparing for my USMLEs. My father was ill and I spent a lot of time taking care of him. You can do that. Or how was your trip? It was good. I had time to catch up with my mother. Okay, what's wrong with your mother? You can direct this. So when you become good at this, you can start directing the interview. Most people are not good at interviewing. When you don't know how to interview people, عشان دي بقى a set of skills. So, how do you prepare this? You write down in advance before you go on your first interview. This is my opinion. 10 to 15 points. At points, and this applies to medical school, residency, even a job. If you've been attending, this is my strategy for this, and I think it works. Write down the 10-15 points that you have to get across to these people. كويس? For example, نتخرج من جامعة الخرطوم. كلنا من جامعة الخرطوم أكثر من 100 سنة. It's older than 100 years. How many schools in America are older than 100 years? There's like 10, maybe 15. Tell them that you're smart. If they say, tell me about Sudan, well, tell me about the medical education, tell me about University of Khartoum or whatever it is that you're from, tell them, well, you know, the process is a little bit competitive. There are over 300,000 applicants. I ranked number 14. I ranked number 200. That's pretty good. 200 out of 300,000. Those are the numbers to get into medical school in Sudan. You need to be in the top 1% of the 1%. It's not just the 1%. You have to tell them these things. So that's point number 2, for example. Tell them that. Whatever it is, write them down. You need to tell all the information to everybody at the same time. A little bit موسيقى إنه في الرانك لسه نحن بنتكلم مع بعض فبيقول oh he told me this, he told me the same thing. فين توزعوا المعلومات 3 for this person, 5 for this person. The program director or the chairman أدوا زيادة. ممكن تقول لي كل حاجة. This is my opinion for the strategy. The program director is really who decides. The chairman is the most powerful, but they rarely talk. Sometimes they're the same person, most of the time they're not. So you can give them more information about what you are planning to do. Write them in advance. Tell them about it. Offer some piece of information. And this could be academic or it could be non-academic. زي ما قلت لكم ليه عشان they haven't read your CV most of the time. Avoid religion and politics. الجايين من السودان, they're going to ask that. They're going to be interested in Sudan. My own opinion is stay away from it. If they ask, you do have to answer the question. You can't just say, I don't want to talk about it. The siyasa, it's easy. Tell me about the government, or tell me what do you think about it. Stay neutral. So sometimes it's testing your confidence and your convictions. So just stay neutral or answer the truth. If you get more than 6 interviews, you're likely to match. Just purely numbers. They're going to interview the same batch of people. If you did well, expect that you will match. If you don't, if you only get 1, the likelihood is that you will not match. Make plans for otherwise, good plans. If you do not match, I am right about this. It is not because they're racist. It is not because you're Muslim. It is not because you're Sudanese. It's not because you're black. It's because you did something wrong. Okay? Let me just be clear. It's because you made a mistake or your application simply is not good enough. The reason why I say that is because if you think that program بتاع حينوت بس بياخد الحينوت أو he was really rude to me عشان أنا مسلم ولا أنا سوداني ولا أنا أسود, then you won't fix the mistakes that you made, which are real, and they are mistakes. Therefore, look objectively at your application or your interview. Those that had more than 5 interviews, if you don't match, it's because of your interview. If you do not get 6 interviews because of your application, it's very simple. Very simple. So when you're advising people and they say, oh, I only got 1 interview, well, it's because your application stinks. You got to fix it somehow. You got to do research. You got to fix it. Do more observations, anything. Like in the application. If you get 5 or more, then tell your people that you're advising it's because your interview skills are awful. خليكم صريحين. This is حياتهم. ما تلعبوا بينهم وتكونوا ظريفين وتجاملوا. ما في مجاملة في الحكاية دي. في زول زعل يقولنا ما أنا معلش. عفوا عليك. Again, that's the truth. Again, if you don't get the interview, it's your application. If you get the interview, your interviewing skills need improvement. It's what you wore, it's what you said, it's the way you came off, you seemed arrogant, you seemed something. ناس بيزعلوا من كلامي ده لكن دي الحقيقة.